and get started. We have some amazing things to show in our showcase today. And so we're really, really excited to get started. Just tech check real quick. Y'all see the screen with the slide, right? Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and get started. Firstly, welcome to the first ever Talkbase Ambassador Program. Why is my GIF not loading? Hold on. Okay, well, I tried, y'all. Okay, we're really excited to have everybody here to celebrate our ambassadors and the projects they've worked on during the program. This is our first ever cohort. It's been an amazing experience to work with these up and coming community superstars and to see what they've been able to accomplish over the course of the program. If you don't know, my name is Tiffany Oda. I'll be your MC for today. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So just to start off with a little bit of, to start off with a little bit of an introduction on what the Talkbase Ambassador Program is. It's been clear that the community industry is growing. More and more companies are recognizing the importance of having community and the value and impact that it can bring across the organization as a whole. However, we found that it's still a fairly new space and a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to have direct community or community management experience. So yes, we know that there are programs out there and courses and a plethora of resources available, but as we know, there's nothing that really translates or replaces bringing those theories into practice through direct experience. So with that, the Talkbase Ambassador Program is a 4-month-long program, and we aim to do just that. We want to give people who are looking to get into the industry direct community management experience for a real live community, which is the Talkbase Friends community. So during the program, each of the ambassadors determined a project they would work on. They created project plans and executed on those plans. And along the way, they had direct access to community pro mentors, shout out to Shauna and Ella, and had one-on-one sessions with the Talkbase community team. We held a handful of educational sessions with guest speakers, had networking opportunities and more. And so some of y'all who did educational sessions are in here. Thank you for supporting and welcome. And this project showcase is essentially a show and tell, if you will, to let our ambassadors show off and share what they worked on with all of you. And then moving forward, if you're looking to hire, some of our ambassadors are also open to new opportunities. So feel free to reach out to them. We'll also be providing them with future resources like references and recommendations, resume and cover letter assistance, and a network of other community people who can continue to support them on their journeys. Also, if you are interested in being in a future cohort, please fill out this interest form, which will be shared by Kristen already in the chat, and we'll let you know when the next round of applications open. It'll probably be around February or March timeframe. Or if you're a little bit more seasoned in community and are interested in being a mentor or holding a one-off educational session for our next cohort, please go ahead and email us at community@talkbase.io. Love it. All right, and now without further ado, I'd like to introduce our ambassadors. This group came to us with very different skill sets and backgrounds, all with the goal of learning more about community management and getting more experience in the field. And they've each got very, 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 very cool projects to share with you today. So as they're presenting their projects, we want to make this interactive. Please feel free to ask questions, add comments in the chat. We'd love to hear from you as we hear from our presenters. And then with that, I'm going to pass the baton over to Vanessa and Nicole. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And then Vanessa and Nicole, you can go ahead and take it away.
Yay. All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for all of you for being here. Nicole and I are very, very proud and very excited to present our final project for the Ambassador Program to you, which is the Ultimate Community Playbook for Community Newbies. But before we get into that, we want to show you a little bit of who we are as humans. So we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Nicole. I'm currently located in Ecuador. I'm head of client success for Betterfly, the first social impact unicorn in Latin America. And as we currently migrate from a strategy from client success to community strategy, I was looking for programs and webinars that would inform me more about how to build community. And I was lucky enough to run into a webinar where Clara was hosting, and then I reached out to her and applied for the program. And that's how I ended up in the ambassador program. So very happy and lucky to be here because I've learned so much throughout the cohort. Fun fact about myself is that I love chocolate so much that I have it for breakfast every once in a while. So that's me.
I love that. I do get some chocolate for breakfast too, but not on its own. I have it with my pancakes every now and then. But my name is Vanessa Marquez, and I am currently the communications and marketing specialist at a nonprofit called Bike New York. And I'm also a life coach and a workshop facilitator on my own through my social accounts, and that's Nana's Zone. I strive to live a life that's very aligned with my core values, which are basically authenticity, creativity, passion, and connection. And so back in December, when I found out about this program, I was trying to transition into a job that better aligned with that. And so I applied to Talkbase for a community role, and Clara kind of like guided me into the ambassadors program. And so I applied and I am here. And community, for me, I would say makes the most perfect sense in terms of where to next in my career, because it really helps me to put that creativity and that content creation into play with the one-on-one and one-to-many connections that you get to build. So I'm very excited to take a leap on that. And in terms of fun fact, you can't prove me wrong on this one. I am 1000% a House of Dragon person over Rings of Power, and I am not sorry for that. And so what do we want to talk to you today about? We're going to basically guide you through the process on how we created this playbook throughout the 4 months of the program. So we're going to talk to you about our partnership, why Nicole and I decided to work together, some of the project management tools that we used to get this project going, as well as some key learnings. And at the end, stay tuned because we may have a gift for you. So in terms of our partnership, you know, it's pretty crazy to me to think that Nicole and I have never met and have never worked together, because we work very seamlessly, and I'm super, super grateful for that. And so one of the things that we bonded over in the beginning was the fact that we were both from Latin America. So we have this inner joke that we're bringing the Latino gang to Talkbase Ambassador programs. So whether that's Bad Bunny and Maluma or Daddy Yankee, pick your favorite Latino duo. We think we're that in terms of community. And so since we were both very new to what community is, we really tried to figure out what to do with this project and decided to keep it simple and go with one of the ideas that Talkbase had shared with the ambassadors in terms of what to do with our project. So initially, we wanted to do a knowledge base that encompassed all things community, you know, a very small undertaking, and then launch it on our Slack group with a campaign that would have people engaging in sharing some like younger community self tips. But as you will see throughout this presentation, that project kind of morphed into what is now the ultimate community playbook for community newbies. And so how did we even go through those ups and downs, and how did we go from wanting to do a knowledge base to doing an ultimate playbook? We basically had 4 different pillars that helped us through the 4 months of the ambassador program, which was gathering insights from our community, having check-ins, doing a bunch of research, and trying, and I say trying, to stay to a timeline. And so in terms of community insights, we helped one of the other ambassadors, and I'm sure she'll talk about it later, Morganne, with a community survey. And that community survey was launched into our Slack group. And from that, we basically received 9 responses, and we used those 9 responses to really kind of like inform a little bit where our project was going to go. We understand that 9 people are not statistically significant, but we need to take into consideration the resources that we had and the information that was given by those 9 people as a place where we could like really start to direct our initiatives towards. So with that being said, we realized that from the people that did engage with the survey, we had a 50% of people that were in their newbie years, and there was a variety of interests. So we decided, again, very small undertaking, to clump most of the interests together into this project that we were gonna do, and do community building, engagement, experience, and we tried to do operations. You might have to stay till the end to see whether or not we got to that. And so how did we manage to really move through these ideas into having something tangible? And the answer for us was just communication times 5,000. Nicole and I had constant communication via Slack. We also had weekly touch points with our mentor, Tiff, who deserves a huge shout out because she helped us really see things in perspective and helped us like get some direction when we were a little lost, as well as Nicole and I did some weekly check-ins, and all of this communication was rooted, I think, in this radical honesty and this candor of saying, hey, I might be able to take this on, I might not be able to take this on, how can we pivot so that we're both like working towards something that we can finish on time. And to that end, you know, it took a lot of research, and we realized that there is a thing as too much information. When we were trying to create the knowledge base, we went through a big rabbit hole, and it just became this like paralysis of information overload. And I think that was the pivotal moment when we decided that we needed to kind of like cater to the community newbies and at the same time cater to ourselves by putting together a document that would really help a community newbie take out the overwhelm from the internet rabbit hole and have everything in just one place. So that's what we did. And in this document, we have over 20 resources that are cited and mashed into what it is, the Community Playbook. And, you know, in terms of timeline, I just wanted to show you the screenshots from our Notion ambassador page. This is younger Nicole and Vanessa thinking that things were going to be perfect, and this was how our project was going to run out. But in reality, this is what happened. We started in August, you know, planning, making these timelines all into the future, working hard to get ahead of any potential work challenges and scheduling challenges. And so we had, you know, we're going to talk to Tiff every week. We're going to meet up every week. We're going to do everything. It's going to be perfect. And then September came and it was far from perfect. Nicole got bombarded with work, and I had a loss in the family. So I think it's fair to say that September was quite unproductive when it came to working on the program and the project. And so we had to do a lot of pivoting that month. You know, Nicole had to take on when I was emotionally unavailable to handle stuff. And then like by the end of September, I had to take on a bunch of the stuff when Nicole was bombarded with work things. And so in October, it was kind of like, buckle up your pants and like really get to work. We did a bunch of research. We did a bunch of the formatting for the playbook. We found images, we pivoted, and then we came into the Talkbase team and we're like, here's a project. And I think everybody was pleasantly surprised. And we're so thankful for Talkbase for putting the design elements together at the end. And so in terms of the key learnings, I think Nicole and I both understand and appreciate the fact that we could not have gone to this point without learning about these 4 different things. And the first thing is to be accountable radically, and not only with ourselves and what we could do and couldn't do, but also accountable to the commitment that we took by getting into this program, because this was a 50-50 project. Like I might be doing most of the talking today, but this truly was a labor of 2 women. And that happened because we were both accountable to each other, for each other, and to the project. In that regard, we also were able to pivot continuously until the project took shape. And I think this is very important, especially when you're dealing with community projects, because as woo-woo as it sounds, the project also has a life on its own, and you kind of have to listen to where the project wants to lead you to and not be stubborn in trying to like stay fixated on what you wanted to do in the beginning. Really like listen to the information that the project is giving you back and tailor accordingly. With that, we are always a team first group. We were always, it was no Nicole did this, Nicole didn't did. Vanessa didn't do this, Vanessa did this. It was always, you know, the team presented this, or the team is behind, or we weren't. There was no individual finger pointing, and that really helped us push this forward. And the last thing, and I think this is one of the most important ones as well, we knew when to set our boundaries in terms of being realistic with the resources that we had. initially we wanted this to be a 3-part project where we tackled community building, community engagement and experience, and community operations. And at the end of the day, we had to leave community operations behind in order to deliver a quality project. And who knows, maybe next time, the next cohort can take over the community operations part of the playbook. But yes, now I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, who's going to give you a little snippets of our project.
Woohoo! Thank you, Vanessa, for that amazing storytelling of how we got here. And here is our final product, the ultimate community playbook for community newbies. And I know Vanessa covered over a bunch of the story of how we got here, but I think I just want to emphasize on how hard it was for us doing all the research and then having like a touch point in our weeklies and being like, I have no idea what's going on, but I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. And we had like all of these resources and we're like, we can't get through. We don't even know where to start. So what we wanted to do with this playbook was just making things easier for whoever came behind us, right? So we wanted to make their suffering a little bit easier when it came in terms of what information I should use. Obviously, there's so much more information out there, but using about 22 resources that we have cited in our playbook just gives you a lot of information of where to start and how to go about starting a community. We focus, as Vanessa said, on community building, community experience, and engagement. And so what we did is we started off with like a little to-do list of what things you want to cover while building a community, making sure you cover those points before going into the engagement and the experience of the community. So we just make recommendations throughout the playbook of you don't have to do all of these to create to start a community, but make sure that you at least cover most of them in the order that you feel comfortable doing so. Then here are some of my favorite parts of the communities that our playbook is that we gathered all of the information from the resources. Obviously, we made them our own, but we definitely put in our little Latin salsa in there with our pro tips. We wanted to make sure that people knew that they could get creative when talking about community building and experience and engagement, right? I know there's, again, all of this information, all of these resources, but what works for you and your community, I think is what is going to make that community more successful and also very helpful for the members in it. So before I say thank you and we run into questions, we just wanted to let you know that you will all receive, after our amazing presentation, a copy of our playbook via email. So please stay tuned and hopefully you guys get a chance to read it. And we hear from you on LinkedIn or anywhere that we can get some feedback from you. So with that, I think we have a few minutes for questions. I just want to check that with Tiff. So if you guys have any questions, I can't read the chat because I'm also having technical problems, but if you just want to go ahead and unmute your microphone, we'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Shauna.
Yeah, Shauna.
Hello. Wow, that was just so delicious. Thank you so much for all of this work. I'm so excited for what you've produced. I really cannot wait to read this. I'm just curious if the both of you can talk a little bit about how your work backgrounds helped inform this project and the way in which you collaborated with each other. Like, what were some of the ways in which your previous experience has helped you drive this project and create this playbook?
Yeah, sure. I'll just go ahead and start. And I think this, we didn't mention this at the beginning, but when we first looked at the project, we're both newbies in community. So we were looking at the options of what we could create. We both looked at the knowledge base and we're like, oh my God, that's going to be so helpful for us too, to get that information on how to start a community. I've been working with clients for so long, but I've always been looking at the focus of me serving the clients and just having like that relationship to avoid churn. And in terms of community, I think that's why we're so obsessed with it. It's just making sure that everyone contributes and we're all weavers in this community. And that's how I think our experience, at least my experience, came into place when doing the playbook. We're like, okay, we need to help others in the same situation that we are, pivoting into community management. So I think that's for me, and I'll hand it over to Vanessa.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you have a great point there in always trying to provide value to people. I think for me, one of the things that really helped was the fact that I've kind of done not similar projects before, but we had in my previous job a council of people that were in charge of social media accounts, and we had a wide variation of experience. You know, we had people that were basically handed over a social media account for the first time, and people that had gone to school and done that for a long time. And so it was part of our committee to come up with like a master document that could help not only the people that were already in there, but the people that maybe, you know, when people transition, that could come in and like have a little bit of guidance on how to deal with the social media accounts at that particular workplace. So I think that experience really shaped the way that I tackled this project with Nicole in terms of a time management perspective.
That's great. Thank you. Congratulations to you both. That was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Shauna. I know if anyone else has questions, I can't read the chat as I said before. So if you guys have any questions, just let us know. More than happy to answer those.
Yeah. And Tiff, let us know if we're out of time, and then we'll keep the questions for the end.
Looks like you can catch up with chat later, but everyone is very, very excited. Michaela said that she didn't have this brilliant resource a year ago. And then, yeah, if anybody has any additional questions for Nicole or Vanessa, feel free to throw them in chat. We can chat about it. Otherwise, great job. It's been a pleasure working with both of you. Like, we're so proud, like tears, like it's great. Such a pleasure. And the playbook is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. And I can't wait for people to be able to read it and get their hands on it. Okay. Let's see, Nicole, would you mind passing presenter to, I think it's going to be Kristen actually for the video.
Let me go ahead and do that. There you go. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for passing the baton. This is kind of fun. All right. I am going to share my screen to show a video presentation that the awesome Maggie, who is here today, worked on for her project. So let me make sure. Can you see it? Okay.
Hi, good morning, and welcome to my Talkbase project presentation. I'm going to be speaking on how to plan and launch a new event series quickly. Before I get started, I would love to introduce myself. I am Margareth, a community manager residing in Lagos, Nigeria. I love to build communities with an impact-first approach. I am an event planner and an event manager for both virtual and physical events. When I'm not managing communities, I love discovering and experiencing new cultures through food, movies, books, series, and travels. Prior to starting the Talkbase Ambassadors program, I had the following goals. I wanted to gain real-life experience in community operations, as I was a novice to this. I wanted to learn more about tools that would aid community management. And I wanted to meet and network with more people in the community building space so I could gain experience and I could also learn from them on how to be a better community manager. Why this project? Carla of Talkbase conducted a poll on the Talkbase Friends community platform, and I went through the responses and I realized that community members wanted to network more and they wanted to learn more about community operations. These are the responses that had the most votes. So this gave me an insight into the needs of community members. And I went back, I drafted a proposal, and these were what I wanted to achieve with my community plan. I wanted to create a template that allows seamless planning and execution of repeatable community events. I wanted to inspire community operators to share their knowledge of their community operations and tech stack with other community professionals. I also wanted to increase engagement among the members of the community, especially promoting community events. And finally, I wanted to learn how to make community operations seamless using the Talkbase platform. over the course of the 4 months, I broke down my major community projects into these splints. So the goal was to host 5 unique community tours over Q4 and Q1. When I submitted my proposal and when I drafted and submitted my proposal to the Talkbase team, Christine reached out to me, and I realized that we had similar plans for the community. So rather than having these plans conflict with one another, Christine asked if I could collaborate with her, and I agreed to her suggestion. So while I was working with Christine, I made sure that the community events that I had in mind was going to be in line with the direction of the community tours. I had a different idea of how I wanted the event to go, but I brought my idea and she brought hers, and together we were able to properly flesh out the community tours. And working with Christine also ensured that I got the buy-in of the Talkbase team to give my project a go. And the other thing, an important thing I learned while I was also planning my project was documentation. It was something I wasn't used to doing, but during the course of my ambassador's project, I had to learn proper documentation. And this came in handy over the course of my learning phase. So we used Notion to break down all the activities, to break down and organize all our ideas, all our plans, all the steps. We also chose Notion because it was easy to edit and add more or remove whatever wasn't necessary. When we were done using Notion to create the initial template, Notion also allowed us to work on the go. The next skill I had to learn was Slack engagement, because I wanted to increase engagement within the community as well as encourage people to interact with each other. I had to learn Slack management, and I created these copies while I was also planning for the community tours. So this is another advantage of the checklist. Rather than planning, writing copies as the deadline approaches, you write copies ahead of time, seek approval, and on the day it's scheduled to go out, you schedule it on Slack, and it's seamless, it's easy, and every single stakeholder involved in a project is carried along. So the first screenshot here shows the major announcement of the community tour, while the second one is a follow-up message. And these copies have the tone of the Talkbase Friends community. This was also something I had to learn during my ambassador's program. So after having the entire flow from start to finish, we had to transfer those ideas to the Talkbase platform. So since we now have a checklist, going forward, we'll be making use of the event tool on the Talkbase platform to properly plan our events. Now it's easier, every single thing can happen on the Talkbase platform. But rather than deleting or being confused, the event checklist now lets you know where to put what and when certain things are to be scheduled to go out. And the Talkbase platform was really easy to use and navigate. So what I want to effectively carry out this project, I had to adapt to the tools used by the Talkbase team, Notion, Slack, and the Talkbase platform. I also had to adapt to the different time zones, especially among ambassadors as well as the Talkbase team members, and to overcome time zone differences. We communicated via Slack, dropped our comments on Notion. So whenever you come online, you can actually continue where the other person stopped. Then to ensure that tasks were completed on time, we had to set due dates and also assign tasks to individuals. Then to also avoid assumptions, all notes were exhaustive in description. So that way I could understand what Christy wanted to say, and she could also understand what I wanted to say. Then whenever I was in doubt, I reached out to my mentors, the Talkbase team, and fellow ambassadors for clarity. So at the end of the project, at the end of the program, I was able to create an event checklist for the Talkbase Friends community. And this is being used to plan the other 4 community tours. We also organized the 4th community tour using this checklist. And I achieved the goals I had at the start of the ambassadors program. So this is the design for the 4th event that happened. It was hosted by Kristen. The outcome, I learned how to draft and write Slack message copies. I also learned how to write event description copies. I created a checklist for the pre-event, the event proper, and the post-event. I also learned how to write a recap message to ensure community members who missed the event, they could have access to the recording. And this community event recording, as well as the event itself that we organized and planned, served as a collateral to attract new members to our community. So far, these are the key takeaways I learned while I was working on this project. I learned that organizing an event shouldn't be so hard. Breaking things down with a checklist should be every community manager's secret. Then the Talkbase platform is a great tool to plan and execute events for your community. And like I said initially, documenting everything, it's truly came handy for me for future events that I wanted to plan. And whenever I felt like I was straying from the goal and the objective of any event of the event, I could always fall back to the documentation I had to ensure that I am on track. So thank you so much for listening to my project presentation. And if you have any questions, I am ready to answer them. Thank you.
All right. We have time for a couple minutes of questions for Maggie. If anyone has them, you can unmute yourself or pop them in the chat and we'll make sure she can answer them.
Are there questions? Oh, thank you everyone for listening to my presentation. And I also want to say a big thank you to Shauna, to Kristen, and also to Ella. Ella was my very first touch point when I had lots of ideas. And Shauna helped me to narrow down my number of events. And she also made me understand that it's not about the quantity of events, if I'm to use that word, it's actually about the quality of events. And my collaborator, the amazing Kristen, thank you so much. And Tiffany and Clara, you guys rock. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Maggie. If anyone comes up with any questions, please feel free to throw them in chat. Otherwise, we have our final presentation of the day from Morganne. Kristen, did you pass presenter over to her, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be closing out our series today, our presentations. Let me get started. Can everyone see everything okay? Wonderful. So hi, everyone. My name is Morganne Harrison. I am one of the Talkbase ambassadors, and I decided to do my presentation on organizing and rolling out a community survey. Ooh. So a little about me. I'm very passionate about bringing people together around a shared experience Most of my career thus far has been in higher education, where I got to work with students, more specifically student organizations. And that's where I think I found my love for helping people create communities around shared passions. I currently am an event planner or an event manager for a boutique firm in DC. The lovely Meva LaDre-Legrand is joining us today. That is who I work with. And then I also am the owner of Simply Morganized, where I've helped people organize the back end of their business. So that's where my love for operations comes from. But all of that has led me to community because I, like I said, have loved helping people, supporting people and bringing people together. My fun fact is I almost started at the 2020 Olympics with the 2020 Olympics events team, but Miss Rona had other plans. So that's my fun fact for the day. I didn't get to go, but I still wear that badge of honor that I got the invitation. So we worked on an ambassador community survey together. The purpose of the survey was to help validate and shape the ambassadors' projects. This is how it started. I love processes. Like I said, I love the operations of things and logistics of stuff. And so I wanted to work on something that was operational. And since the Talkbase Friends community was relaunching, I decided to coordinate a survey that gave insight into new members' motivations to participate in the Slack community. So I recognized early on that this is something that could benefit everyone. And so I asked to cross-collaborate with the Talkbase team and the ambassadors on it. So true to community effort, if you will. So as far as my timeline is concerned, as you can see, the first 2 weeks was brainstorming. I met with the Talkbase team and ambassadors to determine what was needed to produce this survey and to get set up with all the necessary permissions. So tools, the timeline of what we were working with, the type of content we were going to create, etc. And then after that, it was survey creation time. So I collaborated with everyone on creating the questions and coming up with the best format for delivery. Using Notion, Typeform, a comm schedule, and copy for email and Slack. And I sent follow-up messages to everyone just to ensure that if they wanted to participate, they did. And then, like I said, I created a comm schedule with Clara. So thank you, Clara, for that. And so after that was survey distribution time, our favorite time where we put our baby out into the world. So we shared the survey several times with the Talkbase community. I was responsible for letting people know about it in the Slack channel, and at least once a week was coordinating with Clara to ensure it got sent to the email list 2 to 3 times. So we wanted to make sure we hit people at different times since we have a global community, so different time zones, wanted to make sure that we reached people in different ways. Some people are more on Slack, some people are more in email. So we wanted to make sure that we were being flexible in that. And then results analysis and takeaways was the last part of the project. And so I shared the responses with the team, more specifically with Vanessa and Nicole, so that they could start putting together their playbook. And Kristen announced the winners of the Amazon gift card in the Slack channel. For those that don't know, we added an incentive to try and get more people to participate. We realized that people love winning free things. So we wanted to throw that in there to kind of motivate more people to help us out. So this is an example of what things looked like. This was the Notion document that we started with. It was created for asynchronous collaboration and shared with the Talkbase ambassadors in our Slack channel for them to contribute to. And then a couple of weeks later, the Talkbase team gave feedback on the questions that we created. And then we worked together on the flow in Typeform. So what you see on my right, I don't think it's your right, I think it's your left, is the Typeform survey that we created. And what's on my left again is the beginning of the Notion document. So these are examples of comms that were sent out. So again, on my left, this was an example of an email that was sent out, or one of our emails that was sent out via HubSpot. Clara was the one that put it together, or helped me put it together to send out to everyone. And then on the right-hand side is some of the Slack communications that I came up with Kristen's input. Again, just making sure that I'm speaking on brand with Talkbase And also just, again, making sure that I am hitting all of the notes that were necessary to get our community's attention. So these are the results. This is what came out of everything. So as you can see, we had a completion rate of about 62.5%. According to Qualtrics, the number typically falls between 20 and 30%. So our results were well above average. Over 50% of those that responded are now new to the community field. So 1 to 3 years, as Vanessa Nicole shared earlier, and they're mostly interested in community operations. So we asked if those that responded would be willing to contribute their expertise to the community. One thing about community is everybody comes into it with some form of expertise, even if it isn't community specifically. And so 93% of them said yes, with over 50% wanting to guest blog about events and experiences specifically. So for those of you who are familiar with what Talkbase and the Talkbase community catered towards the very beginning, it was event marketers. And so again, it seems to be very on brand that a lot of people want to blog about events and experiences and are interested in operations. So kudos to Talkbase to really speaking to their ideal client and customer. So what did we learn? Some of the learnings that we have was the content type of the community. So what the community is looking for specifically right now, because as we know, things will change over time. The replies received helped Vanessa and Nicole determine what main subjects and level of expertise that they should cover in that beautiful playbook that I cannot wait to read. And it also gave me and the Talkbase team insight into the type of content they should create moving forward. So something like beginner blog posts about community operations, community events, surprise and delights, things of that nature. How to use new platforms. I learned how to use Notion and Typeform. It was my first time using both of those platforms. I'm a bit of a tech nerd, so I was super excited to do both those things. But I learned how to build pages and use it to collaborate asynchronously with other team members to bring a project to life. I had never done that before. So it was an honor and a privilege to work with the other ambassadors in that way. I learned how to build a survey from scratch. And in doing that, I had to learn how to think through a customer journey, which leads me to my next point. I learned how to create a customer journey, which is really actually what I came in here wanting to do. So I got the opportunity to do that in a way that I didn't see coming. So I was wondering what questions I should ask. How did they fit into the bigger story? The bigger story we were trying to tell. How long should the survey be? When should we ask questions? Like in what order? One of the things that we had a lot of talks about was the first question, and we had some drop off. And we were like, well, is it because the first question? Is it because of people opening up the survey and then forgetting about it? And so again, having that conversation and learning about that conversation in one of our all hands meetings was really insightful for me. When we asked the question, so logic, and the way it was asked. So the question type, should it be a yes or no? Should it be a short answer? So again, how are we creating an experience for this customer to go through this survey and actually finish it? Copywriting skills. I learned how important this skill is no matter what community field you pursue. I was like, oh, I'm going to do community operations. Copywriting is not something that I'm going to do. And I was asked left and right to create my own copy for the survey. And I was like, oh, I thought that was going to be somebody else. So I did learn that copywriting is a skill that everyone should have, no matter what field they're in when it comes to community. And how what you write depends on what medium you use. For example, emails where concise and universal communication for a global audience is useful. Clara talked me through that. I think I was a little wordy in my first rendition of things, and she took everything that I said and made it super concise and very universal for everyone to get through. And then Slack is where my tone and text could be a little bit more informal. So I could say things like Talkbase friends, which other people who are not in the Talkbase friends Slack community might not know. So again, being very mindful in what language I'm using and when. And then a really important thing that I learned, it's a soft skill. It's not really something that is pertaining just to this survey, but receiving feedback, being open and listening to what others have to say, and then applying what you learned, not just hearing it, but then actually putting it into practice. because you realize that people really are there for you and they want to make you better because they want to see you succeed. And so being open to receiving that feedback and applying what you learned is only going to get you to where you want to go. And that was the whole purpose of this ambassador program. So I want to say thank you for attending our project showcase today. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have at this time. If you know of any job opportunities that you think I might be a good fit for, or would like to continue the conversation and nerd out on any of the topics listed on the screen, these are all the things that I will happily nerd out with you about for as long as you will let me talk off your ear. Then you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will drop the link to that in the chat. And I just want to say on a personal note, thank you so much, Talkbase, Tiffany, Clara, Kristen, Shauna, Ella, for giving us your time, your energy, and everything that you all did with us. It was a phenomenal experience, and no one can take that away. And to my other ambassadors, Maggie, Vanessa, Nicole, thank you for partnering with me. Thank you for motivating me. Thank you for cheering me on every step of the way, keeping me accountable, keeping me in line. I appreciate it all the time. And so with that being said, I am going to open the floor for any questions and turn it over to Tiffany, Kristen, and Clara.
I think someone is cutting onions in here because my eyes are misty. Great job, Morgan. Thank you so much. Your survey did so much to tell us about the community and help direct projects and get to know our community members more. So thank you so much. If anybody has any questions for Morgan, please feel free to unmute or put them in chat. And then while we do that, I will queue up my screen for some closing notes. Jamie, question. Let me see. Scrolling. Surveys are easy to do and really hard to do well. You had an amazing response rate. What do you think you would have done differently next time?
I probably would have listened to Clara and offered the incentive earlier. I think if I had gotten people when they were most excited about the survey, like from the very get-go, and then also seeing that there was an incentive, I probably would have done that differently. Something else that I think works really well is when you do personal outreach to people. Because people either feel guilty because like they feel like, oh, she's looking for my name, or they feel like called out. And so I would have done some personal outreach with people that I was a little bit more familiar with, not like complete random strangers. I don't want to be like, hey, listen, I want you to answer my survey and you know nothing about me, but kind of getting people who I did know and was familiar with in the community to be a little bit more involved.
Gotcha. Great. All right, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to throw them in chat. Otherwise, I do have a couple of closing statements before we end our first ever showcase. So I don't know about all of you, but I'm definitely feeling inspired and lots of emotions. If you are too, feel free to reach out to our ambassadors, learn more about them, learn about their projects, what kind of opportunities they may be looking for to continue on their community management journeys. Secondly, if you know people in the space who are interested in getting into community, please refer them to the program to apply. Also, if you have something to give, whether it's a single educational session or a bit larger involvement like being a mentor, please feel free to reach out to us again, community@talkbase.io. Lastly, if you're interested in joining fellow community operators, experts, enthusiasts, nerds, whatever, to learn about best practices, share tips and tricks, please go ahead and join us in the Talkbase Friends community, which you can join at talkbase.io/community. And then to that end, this was so great. Thank you so much to all of our ambassadors for the dedication and the hard work for the last couple of months. We know all of you have jobs and other things going on in life, but it's been absolutely amazing to see all of your growth that each of you have shown in the impact that you've made in the community. And it's been so much fun getting to know you and work with all of you. And then for our attendees today, thank you so much for supporting them and taking the time to come out today. Hope to see you around and hope y'all have a great rest of your day. All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.